Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast, featuring James Creviston and Luke LaCoy. Yeah, we're about to get clean up in here, so clean your mouth out with a bar of soap and get ready for the Clean Comedy Podcast.
Hey, everybody, it's James. Welcome to the Clean Comedy Podcast. And today I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Luke LaCoy.
Ahoy, hoy.
And we have an amazing guest. Now, you know that we're international, right, Luke? So we've had guests from Australia. We've had guests from New York. We've had guests from Arizona. That sounds international to me. I know, but Australia is as far as we've gotten. We haven't really gotten anybody outside of the U.S. for the most part. But we have an amazing guest today. This guy is from Canada. We didn't fly him to LA or anything like that. We don't got that kind of money. But he's from Canada. He's from Drake's place, Toronto, right? So he's awesome. And he is a radio disc jockey. So he's like a DJ for a radio station. And he has a comedy album that is hilarious. Please welcome the very funny, the very talented Kevin Getz. All right. Kevin, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, you hear me?
Hey, how's it? Yes.
I think there's a delay coming in from Canada.
Yes. It's a cold front. No.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, because this was interesting. I connected with you and your album was out, but it's not stand-up. It's bits from your radio show that are very funny. It made me think of like the Jerky Boys or something like that, like those kind of radio style bits. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how this came about.
Yeah, okay. So I'm a radio host in Toronto. I've done the whole radio host thing. I bounced around from station to station. I host 5 shows a day, or 5 shows a week. That'd be cool if I did 5 shows a day. Yeah. 5 shows a week. And essentially I found that I was writing all this great material, and I was going in and I was hosting the show, and that was it. And I was like, well, it just kind of dies once it goes out there. There's nowhere for radio stuff to live. Yeah. You can put it online, but it's buried within 24 hours. So I was kind of thinking, what can I do with this stuff? And I'm jealous of like comedians who get to go out, go on stage, write this great material, perform it, and then put it on an album. And I was like, why can't I do that? Why don't radio hosts get to do that? So I did.
That is awesome. And was there any problem getting that material from your station? Like, were they like, no, what you do on air for us is ours? Did you have any problems with that kind of stuff?
That was literally step number 1. I went to them and said, hey, I want to release an album. And the question I got back was, why? Fair enough. Why? Because I don't know. It's never really been done. I kind of want to try something different. And essentially they said, yeah, here's the audio, go for it. But I'm kind of like going on my own. Like they're not really kind of pushing me or backing this in any way. They've said, have the audio, fund it yourself, just go. And I was like, okay, that's good enough for me. I like that.
Now, are you allowed to mention it on your radio shows that you do every week? Can you say you have this album out, or is that not something
I have not. Just out of kind of respect for the agreement we have, I'm kind of trying to keep them separate. Will I eventually? I don't know. Maybe after a month or 2, if I show them the album's doing well, I'll say, hey, this is working. Maybe the listeners would be into this. But for now, they're like 2 almost completely separate things.
That's interesting. And then what is your listenership? Like, what is the station that you're on? Like, what kind of music do they play?
So I'm on 102.1 The Edge, which is like the alt-rock station of Toronto. So we play a lot of your favorite Pearl Jam, Nirvana, but we're also playing newer stuff, your Mumford & Sons, your Lumineers, but then we also play like local Toronto bands. So we're a really cool mix of alternative rock.
And then what do you think your fans like the comedy little aspects? I know the rerun one was my favorite, and I'm sure you got a lot of feedback from that because it sounded like you did.
Yeah. I love that you would call them fans. I refer to them as people who listen to the show because they're just casually listening to the show. I don't know if anybody actually tunes in to listen to me specifically, but I think they're enjoying it. This is just kind of how I've always hosted a radio show. It's always kind of been more geared, more like set up almost like a comedy show, more like a late night talk show than a traditional radio show. So I don't know. I made it to Toronto, which is a big city. So somebody likes what I'm doing.
How did you get started in this? Did you go to like college for radio broadcasting or something like that?
There's a such thing as radio school.
Radio school.
Everything you would expect it would be. You go in, they teach you every aspect of radio, on-air stuff, off-air stuff, and then you kind of take like almost like a major, and I decided I wanted to do on-air stuff. So they taught me on-air, and we had an on-air station on our campus, and then from there you start at a small station, then a medium station, and a large station. You kind of just work your way up until somebody says, no, you're not good enough, get out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, everyone always says I have a face for radio, but you don't have a face for radio. You have a nice face, so you should be okay for that. So why not be what's the robot guy, Luke? What's the robot guy that used to host stuff that also hosts a radio show in LA? What does that do?
You got me.
He's a robot.
Why not be a robot guy?
Ryan Seacrest. He's a robot, right?
Oh,
So
yes.
Okay.
that dude's dude is also too handsome for radio, but he's also a robot, so that's why they just programmed him to do well and all that stuff. So why not be an actor or be like a something on TV or something like that? Because you guys don't broadcast visual format; you only broadcast audio format, right?
No, we're straight up radio. But I mean, I don't know. There's still time to do more stuff. I just started out in radio in high school, and then when they were like, "Hey, what do you want to do with the rest of your life?" I was like, "I don't know. I like radio." So like, good, go do that. And then out of college, they were like, "Do you want a job in radio?" I was like, "Sure, I'll take a job in radio." And then it just kept rolling from there.
Now, do you guys have to compete with there's internet radio now, right? Do you guys have to compete with that stuff as well, or is that not something you have to worry about as much?
I mean, since the dawn of everything, there's always been competition for radio in your car. There's been going back, people are like, oh, radio's dead. Now there's cassettes in cars. No one's going to listen to radio anymore. But the same people who have always listened to radio listen to radio. They're the people who want that kind of conversation, and that's what radio is good for. And the specific thing is local conversation. Because, when you listen to something on the internet, it's not necessarily about the city you're in. So that's kind of the nice thing we have, where we're like, yeah, let's talk about Toronto. What's going on in Toronto today?
That is smart. Luke, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. Like you mentioned in your album and before that comedians have it easy because, we can kind of just like take our our set basically and like go, show to show doing the same set essentially. What's your process like for like preparing anything like funny or new for radio?
I would imagine it's a pretty similar process to what you guys do, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I walk around with a list on my phone of ideas I'm working on in different stages, if they're ready to go, if they're not ready to go, or if I'm giving up on them. And every kind of day I'm adding new stuff or taking stuff off. And then when I'm ready to put something on air, it goes on air, and then I can never do it again because nobody wants to hear the same thing on the radio twice.
That's true. So do they ever do reruns of your show? Like, would somebody actually ever hear your stuff twice? No.
Nope. I mean, radio reruns are kind of becoming a thing, but more so for people who didn't hear it the first time around. Like they'll take a show that was done in the morning and maybe play it on the weekend, but it's not for people to hear twice. It's for somebody who didn't hear it the first time. So,
Gotcha.
As a comedian, you can go from town to town or whatever and do your bit. And like maybe somebody hears you a second time. They're like, oh, that's cool. I'm hearing this guy again. But it doesn't really, radio reruns aren't a thing. Nobody's going to sit down and rewatch my show like The Office 1,000 times, right? It just doesn't have replay value.
Now, how long is your radio show every day? You say you do it 5 days a week. So I'm assuming that's Monday through Friday, right?
No.
No. Oh, okay. What is it?
Yeah. So it's Wednesday through Sunday.
That's odd. Why Wednesday through Sunday?
That's specifically my job. I'm what's called a swing host. So I'm not a morning show host. I'm not a midday host. I'm not an afternoon drive host. I'm not an evening host. I'm what's called a swing host, which is essentially I do everything else. So anytime nobody else is there, I'm there. So Wednesday through Friday, I'm on in the evening, and Saturday, Sunday, I'm on pretty much all day. So I'm on the weekends as well.
Wow, that's awesome. So that was probably where you burn your most material, will be the weekends, would be my guess, right?
Absolutely. My weekends are 6-hour shows, and coming up with content for 6-hour shows with 4 breaks an hour. Yeah. And that's why I'm like, I do this great stuff and I work so hard and I put it out on air, but if you're not listening at that exact moment, you're never going to hear it. So I was like, what if I put it on an album and let it live forever?
That's smart. And then how did you pick the ones that went on this album? Did you pick it by what you got the best response from people listening, or what you liked the most? Like, how did you decide what you're going to put on there?
So the way the radio works is we're always recorded forever for legal purposes in case somebody calls up and says, hey, I heard you say a bad word, and then we have to submit it for legal review or whatever. So every time I did something I really liked, I would save it for my own personal collection.
Okay.
And then when I got to about 1 year, I was like, I have all this great audio that I've saved that I can't do anything with. So if it wasn't good, there's some stuff I accidentally didn't save because I never did. But my choices for the album was essentially, what did I grab? What do I have with me now? And it just happened to be some of my favorite stuff because that's what I made an effort to go get.
That's awesome. So then how much time do you dedicate to writing every week then? If you have, especially on the Saturday and Sunday shows, we have 6 hours of hosting and 4, how long are those 4 breaks? Like, what's the time frame on those?
There's different radio stations do different things. Like at the station I'm at, they're very loose with what they let you do. They say, hey, we've hired you, go out, do your thing. So like one break could be as short as 10, 15 seconds and I say a dumb joke. But there could also be like a minute-long monologue, which then leads to somebody calling in, and then I have a conversation with a caller about that. So every hour is a little bit different. They're very fluid. So I don't know, like a standard break I would say for me is no more than a minute. If I'm pushing 90 seconds, then I'm really into something. But I'd say about a minute or so. And then I have another break in 15 minutes and another break in 15 minutes. And it just keeps rolling.
So maybe 4 minutes, an hour, and then times that by 6. Luke, I'm bad at math. You go ahead and get this one. that's 24, right? So 24.
Yeah.
You have to come up with 24 minutes of material every. You know how much work that would be for a stand-up comedian to do. So you do that every weekend. You're basically probably every week. How many hours during the other 3 days?
The other 3 days is 4-hour shows, so they're a little bit easier.
So 16.
So I mean, I'm not coming up with tons of great content for every single break. Some of them are, shorter little things, or maybe I'm going to talk about a contest that the station is doing, or maybe I'm going to air a phone call, or maybe I'm going to talk about the weather, or maybe I'm going to talk about the local sports team or something. So there's some
mix in there.
Yeah.
Well, how much would you say of that is material that you have to write yourself? Was that 30 minutes of that, an hour of that, 15? What do you think?
So a standard 4-hour show for me, I usually make sure I have one bit that I've written that is me, that nobody can get anywhere else. During normal times, I would have 1 hour that's like contesting, and I would come up with contests that we do. I would have an hour of station stuff, like what contests are we doing at the station? What are we pitching this week? What bands are coming through next week? So I don't know. I'd say probably about 30% this is Kevin Getz content. 30% is kind of, this is local content. 30% is this is station content. But even when you're talking about the station, nobody wants to hear the same thing twice. So you're coming up with fun ways to talk about this contest we've been running for 2 months. You're coming up with fun ways to say, hey, this band's coming by. You should come see them. It's always how original and creative can you make it? And, how drained can your brain get by the end of the day?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man. You would do well at stand-up comedy then if you have that ability and that drive to sit down and create jokes and stuff. I mean, that's not easy at all. I do all kinds of writing projects and stuff for people. Like I'm about to write a best man toast for somebody, a 5-minute best man speech, right? So, I mean, that's a lot of work. And so if you're doing that, if you're developing that every week, have you thought about doing stand-up?
I've done stand-up.
Okay.
One time.
That's enough for most people, actually.
Well, I like it, but the problem is I work evenings and weekends, right? Yeah. So that's usually when nobody's going to a stand-up show on a Tuesday afternoon, and that's when I have time off.
That is correct.
So
no one is.
Kind of focus that energy just into radio. But I did stand-up. I enjoyed stand-up. It's just the way the times work out, it just doesn't work out well.
Luke, you have another question? I saw you say start.
I was wondering, the album's a lot of fun. It's really fun to listen to. What's your favorite track on it?
Oh, that's a good question. They're all my children. I love them equally. No. The Dentist track, the first track, the lead track, is something I'm probably the most proud of in my entire radio career. It was an idea I had for years that I had originally the concept was going to be a video. It's what I wanted to be my television commercial for my radio show, and it became huge. Still working on that. Still working on becoming huge. It was going to be like a video of me calling dentist's office. And then I was like, you know what? This idea is too good to hold on to forever. I just want to do this now. And I was filling in on the midday show, which has a little bit of a higher listenership, more people paying attention. And it was like one of my first shows doing that. So I knew the boss would probably be listening. So I was like, let's go big. This is the best I have. So I went through and I called a whole bunch of dentist's office and just asked them the same questions over and over again until I got the one who wanted to play ball. And I was so happy. I think I listened to that 50 times that day, just being like, this actually worked. So happy with this. That's why it's the lead track.
That makes sense.
Cool.
I love the repeat one because you're right. Nobody can do repeats on the radio. And the fact that you did that you had guts to keep doing that. My only concern is I would have been like, my idea would have been like, how many times can I do this before somebody calls and says, stop doing this, James? Like, then I would have gone way further than you because I'm crazy, but I respect that you didn't go to the point of doing that. Do you ever? There was a what do they call those things? There was like a rumor, I guess, of a story where a radio person got fired from a radio station and they played Hit the Road Jack over and over for like a week or a month or something like that. Is that a real thing? Do you know if that's true or not?
No, I think I've heard that exact same thing. I think I've heard that. I think that's true. Whether or not he had permission to do that, if it was a stunt to try and bring attention to the station, I don't know. There's no way I could lock myself in the station. It just doesn't work out that way. Maybe they build stations better now to avoid that.
Yeah, it was one of those stories that I heard growing up. I never knew if it was true or not, but I guess it made it all the way to Canada. It must be true at that point.
Yeah, must be.
Luke is part Canadian, but I don't know what part of Canada he's from. So what part of Canada are you from, Luke?
I'm from Hamilton.
Oh, so you're just down the road from Toronto.
Originally, yeah. I mean, only for a few years, but you know.
Is that the same province? Is that what they call it? Province?
Yeah, it's the same province. It's literally, depending on traffic, 45 minutes an hour from, like, not far at all from where I am here.
And where's Drake from?
Actually, I cannot confirm 100% accurately, but I believe Drake and I were born in the same hospital.
No way. That's awesome.
That's just me speculating because we were both born, I believe, in Scarborough. But I don't know if we're both born in the same Scarborough hospital. At very least, we were born very close together. And then our lives went completely different directions.
Yeah, I mean, you're way bigger than he is.
Yeah. I mean, I have a radio show. Where's his radio show?
Yeah, where's your radio show, Drake?
We both have albums. I have a radio show. I call that +1 me.
Yeah, there you go. You're winning this one. So what's the next thing for you? What do you plan on doing next after this? Are you gonna turn these like into a book, or are you gonna keep making like an annual album, or I don't know. I'm spitballing here.
I don't know. I'm super focused on getting the album going and, you know, pushing it because it's a new concept and nobody's really heard of radio albums before because apparently now they exist. So pushing this is the thing right now. I hosted a album release party for it where I sent out invitations to about 100 people and told them not to come because it wouldn't be safe. But then I actually hosted the party just myself. So that was fun. And right now just pushing the album, whether or not, you know, I make it a yearly thing. I don't know, because that puts the pressure on me where I have to come up with more stuff.
Do it.
Yeah. The great thing about this one was when I went to sit down and make the album, everything was already there for me. I'd already made it all kind of by accident. I don't know if maybe a children's book. I could release it as a children's book or something. That'd be kind of fun.
What years, what did this span? Like from what year to what year were all these bits?
So I got my job at The Edge at the end of August of 2019. So I literally released it like on my 1-year anniversary. So it was from August 2019 to August 2020.
So then that's what you should do is every annual anniversary is release a new album from your anniversary day to your next anniversary and release all the stuff that you have up to. I think that's a great idea. I mean, like you said, nobody's done this before. You're really a pioneer in this. And it's funny because sometimes you do hear funny things on the radio and you go, oh man, that's funny. And you're never going to hear it again, right? If you didn't record it yourself, if you didn't somehow get a copy of it or whatever, you're never going to hear it again. So I think you've stumbled onto something that honestly will be, Ryan Seacrest is now going to steal your idea and make $1 trillion off it.
Well, that's just it. I've had radio hosts be like, oh, I'm going to steal that idea. I'm like, you can't steal that idea. Go for it. Feel free. You can have that idea. If you need help, let me know. I'll help you. We need more radio hosts releasing yearly content. That'd be so, at the very least, a radio station. Release the bits you have at the end of the year, you know, sell it for charity or something. Get that audio out there.
Yeah, because I mean, like in LA, we have like Big Boy, and I love like his little bits that they do. They do like prank calls and stuff. Yeah. I love that kind of stuff. But you're never going to hear it again. If you didn't hear it at that moment, you're never going to hear it again. So
and that's one of the downsides of radio now, especially, you know, if you see something cool on YouTube, on Instagram, you can hit 2 buttons and share it to a friend. You hear something fun on the radio.
Nothing.
What do you do with it?
That's genius, man. You might have created a whole new market for this kind of stuff. I have an idea. I won't say it on air because I don't want it stolen yet after I get it done. But I have an idea for something like that too, to replace something that is the most annoying thing that people ever have to sit through. So I'm hoping that'll work out at some point. And I've just got to figure out the licensing portion of it. But I think it's something that would be pretty amazing. What is so besides a book, maybe doing this annually? Yeah, I think you should. Honestly, I mean, you should do an annual thing because it's a genius idea. I don't know did you ever hear the Jerky Boys? Was that everything that you grew up on?
I know of the Jerky Boys, but I think that's a little pre-me. I don't know if I was listening to the Jerky Boys at any point.
I don't know for the same vintage. I like to listen to all kinds of stuff, so that's for me. But I always thought that was just such a groundbreaking thing, and then people did copy them. But you know, that was prank calls, and nobody had recorded prank calls and put them out as an album before. So that was a big thing. Now you're doing this. I mean, I'm surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised Howard Stern never did something like this. Like
I think he did. I think he released a cassette in the early 90s. I remember when I was releasing this album, I was originally going to call it like the world's first radio album. And I was like, you know what? If there's one person who's done something like this, it was probably Howard Stern. So I looked it up, and I think he did like a collection of the ones the FCC hated the most, which is a very Howard Stern thing. So now I'm just calling it possibly Canada's first radio album.
There you go. That's cool. That's cool.
Legally good there.
where can people find you? Where can people find the album? Where can they learn more about you and stuff?
So I learned through this process how to release an album. So it is available on every platform you've ever heard of and every platform you haven't heard of yet. I got the fringe audio platforms from countries who apparently have audio of their own there. Kevin Getz, you can find me Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play. Kevin_Getz is the Instagram, is the Twitter. I mean, if you want to find this album, it's not hidden. I've tried to get it out there as much as I can.
That's so awesome, man. I am so impressed. I think it's the coolest thing. Luke, we should do that. We should make it. Well, nobody can listen to our podcast anytime they want. I guess that won't work. Never mind.
No.
They would just be like, I've already heard that episode. I've listened to it 37 times. And stop putting out, idiots. Okay. So that works. All right. Thank you so much, Kevin. Luke, where can people find you at?
Luke LaCoy. I'm not hidden either. Just type it in, you'll find me.
Are you on TikTok now, or are you just doing David's TikTok stuff?
I mean, mine's embarrassing now compared to David's. So
Right.
yeah, I'm on there, but follow David. Follow his account.
That's awesome. And I have no social media because I'm a pariah to society and I don't need to have social media. But you can find me at jamesdcreviston.com or comedypreneur.com, or watch this on YouTube and comment what the background is here, and we will do a shout out for you on the episode. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Please like, subscribe, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah, we're about to get clean up in here. So clean your mouth out with a bar of soap and get ready for the clean.